Hello, welcome to 5 Minutes in the Shed. Forgot my microphone. Hello, and welcome to 5 Minutes in the Shed. Right, so episode 31, maybe, something like that. So, first of all, I made a mistake on the last video of putting the Kickstarter plate thing on. Let me take it to the bench, I'll show you. Okay, so yeah, not really a mistake as such, but a bit of a omission, right? I showed you me turning this on, and I put the plate on there, and I tensioned the spring, and I turned it round, and I turned it round to this point, and I clipped it on like that, right? That's okay, right? But if you look with the Kickstarter on, oh, it's bolting it. If you look with the Kickstarter on, like that, yes, it springs back up, right? Springs quite well, actually. Surprisingly good. However, in the manual, this tab is at the top, and quite rightly pointed out by people who watch the video channel, that it's actually 180 degrees out, not tensioned enough, right? So what you have to do is go another 180 degrees, and obviously after another 90 it starts to get a little bit tough, right? And it's probably best to hold it with some sort of tool, you know, pliers, mole grips, whatever, to get that extra tension on to get it to 180. And then when it's locked on like that, this is like a loaded shotgun, right? But if it's got another 180 on it, it's like a double barrel shotgun loaded something. I don't know, dangerous, scary. But yeah, needs to go another 180 degrees. So just pointing that out. So not going to do that today because I haven't got the gasket yet, so that's still on hold. What we are going to do is we're going to put the cylinder head on the engine. All right, so let me just check we can see enough engine. Actually, no. Before we go on the engine, the important bit's the cylinder head. Right, so cylinder head's down here. Cylinder head's all ready. This was done in a previous video. It's all set, ready to go. We've got a new gasket there, which is lovely. I've had a little feel of this, and it's soft. It is soft. I never trust these. Don't know how long they've been in a packet or anything. Don't know who made them. Not sure how well they're annealed. Right, so we're going to anneal this. The other thing is as well with new gaskets, they're stamped, right? We've got a thing and this sort of machine comes down, bang, stamp, gasket. When you stamp it, the very tip of the edge work hardens, right, where it was stamped. And you get a bit of a burr on the edge there. And that burr could restrict it sitting dead flat, right? So, needle file, bit of patience, bit of time, and just take that burr off. Right, so I'm going to deburr the whole head gasket before I use it. I don't want to feel a burr around that. Alright, so we've got a bit of work to do on that. Once I've deburred it, obviously I've been working the edge, so it work hardens. So I am going to re-anneal the gasket. So we're going to do that. We've then got push rod tubes. All right, so push rod tubes are here. Can you see all these okay? Yeah, you see all these. All right, so push rod tubes go in there and on the barrel. This end, on the cylinder head, on this engine, we've got a white spacer. All right, so Triumph changed these over the years because they're always leaked. So there's various different ones for various different engines, right? So if you've got a 1963 Tiger 90, then you need these like 2.5mm white silicone jobs, and then in the other end you need these black O-rings, right? Other models will vary, right? So that rubber thing goes in there, that sits over the tappet block, and that goes on the top, and the cylinder head goes on that. That's how they work, right? Now you have to take care with these because they tolerance stack up. All right, and when you put the cylinder head on and sit it onto the push rod tubes, should I say, like that, and they're on the barrels, you should have about 1/2 mil, 3/4 of a millimeter gap between the cylinder head and the cylinder gasket. You should be able to see a little bit of daylight, all right, because that again gives you enough to crush those rubbers down as you tighten it down. If it's over a millimeter, a big gap, you'll never crush them enough, right? Which means your head gasket will leak. If it's already sitting on the head gasket, then they're going to leak because they're not crushed. So very fine margin on that. We'll do that when it's up on the doofer, right? But the first thing is, right, I'm going to get a bit of well seal and a tiny little brush, put a tiny little bit in those holes, put these silicone jobs on those holes and stick them in with well seal, right? So I know they're in there and they're not going to fall out. Then we're going to put these rubber O-rings on the tappet blocks at the bottom, and a bit of well seal around the outside so these slide over quite nicely. Then we can put it all together, right? So I think first thing I'm going to do is deburr this head gasket and fit those rubber O-ring seals. Okay, so we've got rubber seals on the tappet blocks. They're ready for these to slip over and sit on. I'm going to make those a little bit wet with well seal so it slips down. Lovely job on those. We've got the head gasket there, nicely dressed with a file. And we've got the white 2.5 mil kind of silicone jobbies in the cylinder head there. So they're all ready to go. So all we need to do now, I think, is anneal the copper washer gasket. Copper washer. It's a big copper washer. We're going to anneal this big copper washer. Now, annealing, as I'm sure everyone knows, is you heat it to cherry red and then you cool it. There is a little bit of debate on these. Should you quench or not quench? That is the question. Now, if you heat it up, the molecular structure of it sort of becomes crystallized and soft, right? That's what happens, right? So it's the annealing process. If you work it, that breaks down, it becomes hard. And if you keep working it, it snaps, becomes brittle. So heat it up to cherry red, let it cool down, it is nice and soft. The only difference with quenching steel, obviously from red hot, makes it hard, right? Quenching these from cherry red doesn't make it hard at all. It doesn't change the chemical composition, right? But what it does do is it cools it down faster so you don't burn your fingers. And the other thing that it does, it shrinks rapidly. And because it shrinks rapidly, if you've used a gas flame to anneal this, any soot and oxide and crap flakes off a little bit, makes it a bit easier to clean afterwards. So will I quench or will I not quench? I will quench because it just makes it easier to clean. So I'm going to get the gas out and anneal that. Am I going to do that on a video? I might be able to. Let me figure it out. Cue the music. Okay, annealed head gasket. So head gasket is here. Check you can see. Yeah, here. Here's the head gasket. Now what I've put on that, which might be unusual. I don't know if it's unusual or not. I've got some of this copper gasket spray. Saw it on someone else's video, an American video, and they swear by it, say it's really good on head gaskets, and I used it on my Tribza. Seems really good, and you spray it on the copper gasket, it makes it sticky with copper. So I guess it's like a combination of copper and glue in that, or something. Apparently you can use it on the bolts as well, but I don't know, a bit sticky for my liking. So head gasket is annealed, dressed, and sprayed with that stuff to make it tacky, to make it ready to go. I've put the rubber seals in there and the push rod tubes on. Now I've just put these on and did a quick offer up just to see what it looked like, right, for tolerance, stack up and stuff. Oh, it's way out, way out. I mean, like millimeters and millimeters out, way too far to crush, right? So I've just been doing off camera a little bit of measuring and jiggling around, and the old O-rings that go in the bottom here, these are the ones. You have some significant crush on these, right, and they crush quite a lot to get a good seal. But measuring these ones and measuring how much I was out and stuff like that, got the old feelers out, old feeler gauges, and the old vernier calipers. These new ones are 2mm, seem to be 2mm bigger than the old ones. The old ones crush about 1mm. These ones, you'd need to really nail it down 2mm to crush them. I don't think that's right. So about 2mm coming off the seals at the bottom, and then you know, some off the top as well. So it was huge. So anyway, after a lot of checking and measuring and determining, I thought I'm going to leave it on the high. So there's still going to be quite a lot of crush on this, all right? But I've got those O-rings, and I've just shaved 1mm off the end of them. I don't think they're very good O-rings. The trouble is with all these pattern parts, you're never quite sure what you're going to get. You know, someone's manufacturing them somewhere. Like I found with the cam plates, those countersunk screws, it's just too big, right? Just made to the wrong size. So I'm hoping that's the case. So I've shaved them down. Now there's left on the front and back, there's about 1mm, maybe even more, maybe 1.5mm of crush available on those now. Right, and if I put this on, I've got a strong millimetre of gap. Right, I measured it with the old head gasket, which I've just thrown somewhere. The old head gasket here. Yeah, old head gasket stacked up with feeler gauges, and that's how I've determined it's a bit more than 1mm. So, which is on the very strong side, but these ones on the bottom are taking, I think it's because they're new, it takes quite a serious crush, so I'm going to have to feel that with the head bolts. If it goes down easy enough, I'm going to leave it at that. But yeah, I'm wrestling with myself about those. Taking 1mm off, got my feeler gauges ready, got my sticky sprayed copper head gasket here. So that's going to go on. I don't want to touch the face of it because it is sticky. I mean, modern gaskets, you get those now and they're all sticky. Right, I think it's modern chemicals and stuff. It's just a lot of stuff now around that's better than it was in the old days. I don't mind trying a bit of better stuff. Okay, so head gasket on, push rod tubes on. The O-rings, can you see it above the engine there? Yeah, a bit, yeah. O-rings are in there, above there. So now I've got to put the cylinder head on. Moment of truth. Just make sure I don't catch me beautifully machined faces. Front one in. There we go. Right, so that's sitting now on all the O-rings. So let's have a look at this. We've got Half mil, so that's 1 mil. See where we are. Okay, that's below 1 millimeter, which is correct. So let's see exactly. We've got 0.6. Bit more than 0.6. 0.6. Put them two together, that'd be 0.8. Not quite 0.8, so somewhere between 0.6 and 0.8, so about 3/4 of a millimeter. So that's about right, and it rocks nicely, and you can wiggle it a little bit on those push rod tubes, hovering there quite well. You've got to check it's nice and up there and seated, and same the other side without garting myself with a microphone wire. All looking good. So now I can put a little bit of torque on it, not a massive amount of torque. You know, we're not pulling this down yet because we've only got 4 bolts in it. We've only got the outside bolts. So we've got the 4 big fat head washers. These usually stick to the head and don't go anywhere, but during the blasting and cleaning process they disappeared, probably blocking up Patrick Seeger's drains at the moment. My fault, his drains are blocked with big fat washers. Right, so they're in. These are the cylinder head bolts. I'm not going to put any copper slip on it, but I am going to put a tiny bit of oil on the threads on these. It's a very fine thread, and we're going to be torquing it down. I don't want the thread getting any damage or anything. Tiny bit of oil on that. Don't want a lot of oil on it. Don't want to you start pouring oil down and hydraulic in it. That would be terrible. Yeah, that's it. Tiny bit of oil to help it on its way. Oh, look at this. Looks like an engine now, look. I can almost smell the oil. It hasn't even got any in yet. Let alone had any time to leak any out. Which it will, because it's a Triumph, and that's the rules. Okay. Ooh. It's so exciting. This is so exciting. Now, I've got a dilemma now because my camera, you guys, sitting on top of my toolbox. I can't open my toolbox lid without moving the camera, and that would look really unprofessional. Terribly unprofessional. So I'm just going to go in fingers. Otherwise, I ain't got a spanner handy. No, I'm going to need a spanner for this. My fingers are wearing out. Hold tight. Get you back on there. Yes. Brand new bolts, brand new threads. It's all a bit tight. Tight as a tiger. Right. What are we doing there? A bit higher at the back than the front. Just want to make sure it goes down nice and even. Don't want any drama. So what did you do today? Well, I watched a bloke on the telly putting a cylinder head on a Triumph. Spent about 10 minutes just turning bolts around, not saying anything. Pretty good video. Going to share it with my mates. Sorry, could have sped this up, couldn't I? But I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to do things in real time. Share the experience. Okay, that's all sitting down. That's all. I can't see any daylight now through any of that, and I haven't done anything tight. Nothing's particularly tight. It took a little bit of effort. Right, bit of turn on that. Nothing super hard. Right, so there's just a little nip up on each of those now. I'm just having a look. It's all sat down a treat actually. It's sat down really nice. So I'm going to put a little bit of pull on that. A bit of pull on that. A bit of pull on that. Not too much because I haven't got any bolts in the middle yet. Don't just distort anything. But I do want it to hold on the gasket. Right, so let's pull down a little bit on those corners. Don't want to put any pressure on, real pressure yet. So that's, ooh, look at that, it's gorgeous, that is gorgeous. Right, so cylinder head is on, which is brilliant. Now we need to be putting pushrod tubes in. Pushrod tubes are in, hopefully. Push rods. The push rods go down here and sit in the cups like that. These always feel a little bit odd, right? Because let's get it right, like that. There's an angle to them down there. So yeah. So push rods. No. Right, that was my wife just coming back, telling me about the lawnmower. Something else to fix. So they go in an angle like that. If you try and put them vertical, it feels wrong. But that feels good. And they're sitting in those cups there. Same with these two. Brand new push rods. There we go. And we can test that by turning the engine because they'll move. Yes, moving. Back ones aren't moving. What's going on there? Oh, back ones are tricking me. Thought they were in, they weren't. Oh, now it's in. Now it's in. Okay, they're in. And there in as well. Okay, so push rods in. Then next job is to put the rockers on. So rockers, here's the rockers. Here are the rockers that I made earlier. What does that say? E, exhaust. So that one's going to go on there, like that. But before we do any of that job, right, we've got tappet adjustment screws inside there, and I've got new ones for it with little Allen key heads instead of the square head. Oh, very nice. So I've got new ones of those. I've also got new dome nuts for the end here, and I've also got new O-rings for that end there. So I need to put new O-rings in, new dome nuts on, new tappet adjusters, get that ready, both front and back, and then I've got lovely copper gaskets for that to go on, and these need a dress with a file with some quite sharp bits on these, dress with a file and an annealing. So I'll move all this down here out of the way for a moment. Give me a bit of space, and I'm going to clean my bench a little bit, then I'll be back with some music on, doing my rockers. Okay, so I've got all my new tappets in, they're good, and I've got my new shiny dome nuts, and I've annealed the washers, the copper washers that go on those as well. But there are seals that go on this end, right? And I'm just going to take these off a little minute because I need to poke the rocker spindles out a little bit to do this. All right, there is a Triumph special tool for doing this job, because it can be a little bit tricky. What am I doing? Using a pair of pliers on absolute cowboy. Where's my favourite hammer? Here it is. Here it is. Right. Oh, come on. There we go. Right. So there is a special tool for this, but I don't have it. I don't have one. Right. So this O-ring goes over the end of this shaft here. All right. Stretched over. Stretched over like that. All right, so it sits around there, and you've got to get that O-ring inside that housing, right? And there's a Triumph special tool to crush that O-ring down, make it flat so it slides in, then it opens up, and then it seals. I don't have one, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of. Do I need a bit of sealant on? I don't think I need a bit of sealant on that, but I'm going to put a bit on because I've been a little bit over sealanty with this engine. I don't want it to leak. Mainly, just I don't want it to leak. I'm aiming for not leaking, and I'll probably end up with only leaking a little bit. Right, so I'm going to just put a little bit of goo around that O-ring. There, like that. Before it kind of goos up and goes in, goes sticky, right? I'm going to put one of me little doofers on. It's just a little bit like my piston ring compressors, which is the clean side. That's the clean side. You just drop this bit of metal round the old O-ring and everything there. Zip it up with a zip tie. Cool. There we go. So it takes a couple of hands. I'm just going to squish that a bit more. That's better. That's better. Right. Now, just need to give that a little bit of tweaking. It has to be absolutely round. Squish that bit there, squish that bit there. That's it. Right, so when that's properly round like that, then tighten that cable tie up nice and tight like that. Now the O-ring is inside that kind of metal tube that we've just made. Right, and at that point then that's not going to work. There's a drift. Then we can put that on there like that. I know this is the wrong side for the camera, but I'm putting a drift in there like that. At that point, we can knock that in. This falls off and the O-ring has gone inside the hole and everybody's happy. We're going to slight shave off it there. So that's gone in now. Is it loose on there? Yeah. Just going to tap that in a bit further. There we go. And then we can put the nut on the other end like that. And when we tighten that up, it'll pull it in. That's the idea. So that's one done. Just need to do the other side. And that way your O-ring has been crushed flat and then it goes in, then it can expand and it's good seal, because you know, you see a lot drip from there and it's a pain. And that's how you do it. Special tool, Triumph special tool, zip tie and a bit of aluminium. So I need to do the other side. So I'll do that in a sec. And put that shiny new nut on as well. And then, where are the rocker bolts? Over there. Right. And then these can go on the engine. Right? Inlet, exhaust. So I've slackened them right off. Going to need the gasket. The gasket is prepared here. So I've given it a coat of the copper spray on one side. I've got a beautiful machine finish on my head from when I had the head done at Patrick Seeger's. Beautiful finish, right? So that copper gasket spray is going to go sit down on that beautifully machined finish. These haven't got a beautifully machined finish on the top, right? So on the other side, I'm a bit concerned about those, so I'm going to put a little bit of well seal on there because it's a little bit not perfect. I mean, I suppose, you know, I could get the face plate out, put these on my lathe and face them down, or put a fly cutter. No, I ain't going to do it because you end up losing distance, right? It's no good. So bit of well seal on the top. So these are going to go on. I'm going to do that other O-ring, bit of well seal on the top of it, get it on, ready to go. Put a bit of red build juice on it, make sure there's a bit of oil on there, ready to go. Then I'm going to drop them on and mess around with the push rods, make sure they're all sitting correctly and all that. So yeah, cue the music. Right then, so that's one rocker box done and on. All right, in fact, I'm just going to move some stuff around here. Rusty dome nuts, old tappets, old copper washers in the not going to use it again drawer, or a drawer that I'm saving stuff just in case I ever use it again, which I'm never going to use again. Right, if I just turn this round a little bit, give it a spin. So exhaust rockers are on, sitting on the top there. We've got the middle head bolts are in. They're the ones with the standoffs for the thing that steadies your head. Head steady. There you go. We've got the oil pipe there, which is loose. I annealed those copper washers. There's two at the top because obviously the banjo fitting for the oil thing goes in there. We've got the new taps. Oh, can't remember what anything's called today. Tappets. The nuts are on underneath, so that's in. New O-ring on the end. Everything's all lovely. I put these in adjusted very, very loosely. Really, I mean, you can hear them tap up and down. If you give it a wiggle, right? So they're tap set. And then obviously used this bad boy to turn the engine over. Just put that in there, and if you look at the tappets there, I don't know if you can see them or not, but as you turn the engine over, one goes down and then goes up, and then the other one goes down as well. Look at that. So we're exhausting on both sides and it's not jamming the engine, so we're all this is a good first stab at it. Right, I'm just going to do that, make sure everything's torqued up, and then last thing to set really. So they're good, ready and on. That one stays loose, and I'm ready to do the back one now. How can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Okay, right. So I just need to do the same again, but with the innie end of the engine. Done the outie, now I've got to do the innie, which is there. Right, and yeah, same again. I'm just standing behind it. I want to ride it. It's brilliant. Oh, it's very excited about it. I have screwed the spark plugs in just very loosely because I don't want to drop anything down the spark plug holes, because that would be really tragic at this point in time. I'm only planning on doing this once. Right, so other rocker, let's get that done and on and roughly set. I tell you what, we're extremely close to putting this in the bike. I think that might be the next job, you know, this, a bit of motorcycle mounting. Fantastic. Ta-da! Right, by the magic of television. By the magic of television, there we have a completed Triumph 350 engine. We've got covers to go on, obviously, on the sides. I need to dial in the clutch. I'm going to do that when I've got a kickstart, so I can dial that in, make sure it's all level, and tighten these up. Adjust my clutch rod, that needs to be done. I need to do the timing, so I'm not going to put this cover on until I've strobe timed this bad boy. And on the other side, cam timing's all done, that's okay. Gearbox end cover has got to go on, and primary cover on, carburetor on, you know, that kind of stuff. We've got both the rockers on. I've turned the engine over. I won't do it now. Turn the engine over. It's all good. These are set. They were set very loose, and then I tightened it down a little bit. Yeah, they are set very loose. Okay. Yeah. They go click click as you lift them up and down. Just gonna do the lock nuts up on those. Not loose enough that the push rods will fall out the cups, but not tight enough to be worried about on anything. One thing I did find, talking about this theme of pattern parts which are not right, I had a full set of head bolts for it, right? Front ones, great. Rear ones, 1/8 of an inch too long. Well, maybe a bit longer. I measured them against the old bolt, and they're longer, and they bottom out before they tighten down. I'm glad I felt that before I started swinging on a spanner. So I've stacked them with washers for now, but I'm going to have to take them back out and just turn them down a little bit on the lathe. So I'm going to do that, but I'll put a bit of pressure on for now, because obviously I've got a bit of sealant on the gaskets and I want that bit of pressure on that to hold it down. I haven't torqued the head down yet. I haven't torqued any of this down yet. It's all nipped up, you know, not very tight, but a bit tight, right, to just hold everything in place. I need to do a complete torque spanner check all over that. Obviously need to do timing and stuff, but I think the next stage is to get it back in the bike, and when it's in the bike, then I can properly torque check everything. I'll put a chain on it, and you know, I'll hold the back wheel, make sure everything's tight, and do a full check over the engine. Then I'll put the points on and ignition time it, static time it, get it all kind of ready. And then I'm going to start it. It's going to be great. Right, so next episode I'm going to be putting it in the bike and connecting it all back up and everything. Get it off the bench and back on the stand, back where it belongs, in the matching number chassis. Yes. So all looking good. Thank you for watching, and Stafford Classic Bike Show tomorrow. I'll be there. I'll be walking around. Want to say hello? Say hello. Be great. And yes, wedding anniversary Sunday. I might be putting the engine back in. We'll see. We'll see. All right. Thanks for watching.